Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to 168 Hours, your weekly roundup of the top local stories. I'm Idham Naim, your host for the evening. Stay tuned. In a significant move to combat the escalating issue of drug trafficking, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz ratifies amendments to the Drugs Act, introducing the death penalty for individuals convicted of smuggling drugs into the Maldives.
The legislation, passed overwhelmingly by Parliament last week with 65 votes in favor, also imposes stringent penalties for drug importation, trafficking, and illicit enrichment. The amendments, which stipulate the death penalty in cases involving possession of more than 350 grams of cannabis, over 250 grams of deformin, or more than 100 grams of other controlled substances. Crucially, the death penalty can be applied upon a person's entry into the Maldives if they are found to be smuggling drugs. However, the application of the death penalty is subject to a unanimous verdict from a Supreme Court bench. Should the court not reach a consensus on capital punishment, offenders will face life imprisonment coupled with a hefty fine. The amendment also restricts the possibility of pardons or commutation for those sentenced to death or life imprisonment for drug smuggling, effectively barring parole for such individuals. Additionally, the amendments aim to bolster the system for providing comprehensive treatment to drug addicts and facilitate their reintegration into society. Beyond the severe penalties, the bill introduces measures to control novel psychoactive substances, introduce additional drug-related offenses and penalties, enhance drug addiction treatment programs, and review the operational rules of drug courts. A notable provision within the amended act mandates the confiscation of property and money seized in connection with drug offenses, transfers this power from the State Finance Act to the court system. This will result in the forfeiture of assets utilized in or derived from criminal activities, including direct or indirect proceeds of crime. President Dr. Muiz has also approved a legislative amendment ushering in significant changes to the benefits and privileges afforded to the nation's past leaders and extending new provisions to former vice presidents. Under the newly ratified law, the office expenses of former presidents will now be subject to deduction. Additionally, the financial benefits for a former president will be suspended if they are elected for a second term or assume any other public office. The act also stipulates that protection and security provisions are not required for former presidents during periods when they reside. Furthermore, President Muiz has ratified the Zakat bill to establish the legal framework governing the Zakat system in the Maldives, ensuring the effective organization and regulation of the payment, receipt, and distribution of Zakat in order to fulfill the objectives prescribed in Islam. Under the act, the national Zakat policy, including the collection and distribution of zakat assets, shall be determined by the President on the advice of the minister responsible for matters relating to Islam. The President shall also establish a Zakat Council to advise the minister and the Maldives Zakat House on the administration of the Zakat system. Lastly, President Dr. Muiz has ratified the amendment to the Tourism Act to establish a legislative framework for leasing areas for tourist resort development and for the establishment and operation of tourism training resorts, and to introduce the regulatory provisions required to support these developments. A key feature of the amendment is the formal recognition of tourism training resorts as tourist facilities, with defined procedures for their lease, development, and management. It further stipulates that within inhabited islands or city jurisdictions, only tourist guest houses or tourist hotels may be developed. Revenue generated for the state from such establishments must be allocated to the respective island or city council.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announces that his government will introduce legislative amendments in the forthcoming parliamentary session to permit citizens to access their pension funds under defined circumstances.
Speaking to the residents of the Himwari district, the President acknowledged public frustration with existing restrictions and confirmed that reforms are being drafted to expand access. The initiative fulfills a central campaign pledge to broaden the utility of the pension system. The amendments would establish statutory provisions outlining the specific conditions under which individuals may draw upon their savings, offering greater flexibility than the current framework allows. The pension system created under the 2008 Constitution consists of the Maldives Retirement Pension Scheme and the Old Age Basic Pension Scheme. Access to the former is generally restricted until the age of 65, a limitation that has provoked sustained public debate. The government's pursuit of structural adjustments reflects its effort to address these concerns. The administration also faces the growing fiscal strain imposed by the pension system, with costs rising annually. Previous governments struggled to implement effective measures to ease their pressures. President Moise has pledged to enact special measures aimed at correcting systemic inefficiencies and resolving the persistent challenges embedded in the current model.
Sri Lankan authorities accepts a relief consignment of canned tuna from the Maldives on Friday, 5th December. A Maldivian cargo vessel carrying humanitarian supplies docked in Sri Lanka on Friday morning, delivering the assistance to a nation reeling from the devastation of Cyclone Ditwa.
The shipment, 25,000 cases of canned tuna packed into 14 containers aboard the Maldives state shipping vessel Galena, supplements a $50,000 financial contribution previously transferred by the Maldivian government to its Sri Lanka counterpart. Officials said the Maldives High Commission in Colombo would formally hand over custody of the provisions later in the day. Maldivian authorities described the assistance as a reflection of the enduring diplomatic rapport between the two countries, highlighting solidarity with the Sri Lankan people during the crisis. Support has also come from the public. A telethon organized by media outlets mobilized significant private contributions, raising $800,000 for institutions and citizens. Those funds have since been remitted to the Maldivian Ministry of Foreign Affairs for distribution. The intervention underscores the scale of the disaster. Cyclone Ditwa has claimed 479 lives and left 350 people missing, while authorities report that the storm has disrupted the lives of approximately 1.2 million residents across the island nation.
National Airline Maldivian enters into an interline agreement with Air India, a strategic move intended to strengthen transportation ties and improve passenger services across regional and domestic routes.
The accord will allow travelers arriving on Air India flights to connect directly to 16 destinations within Maldivian's domestic network. The arrangement is expected to help Maldivian capture a larger share of passengers originating from major Indian metropolitan centers, including New Delhi and Mumbai. Ibrahim Iyas, managing director of Maldivian, described the partnership as a milestone in the carrier's efforts to decentralize travel beyond Malé. He said the collaboration would deliver broad benefits to tourism and trade sectors in both countries. Nipun Agarwal, chief commercial officer of Air India, underscored the Maldives' standing as a premier destination for Indian travelers and said the agreement significantly expands access across the island nation. Officials from Maldivian concluded that the cooperation will optimize network connectivity and elevate the customer experience by streamlining travel logistics and offering more reliable options for passengers exploring the country's diverse destinations.
A special ceremony was held to mark the completion of a Japanese-funded project aimed at enhancing the health capacity of Welana International Airport VIA and Gang International Airport.
The project was implemented to bolster border control, security, and prevention of communicable diseases at Maldives' main ports of entry. With a grant of $2.4 million from the government of Japan, the project has successfully upgraded the airport's infrastructure and capabilities. Key achievements include the establishment of advanced biometric control systems, enhanced identification document checking, and training and resources for border security, health preparedness, and sanitation. The project has also improved waste management practices, environmental safety standards, and emergency response capacities in line with international health regulations. The Japanese government has donated equipment and machinery to strengthen border security in Maldives, which will help screen travelers entering the country and fortify its borders. As the primary gateways for tourists and locals, VIA and Gan Airport are now better equipped to handle the influx of visitors while protecting the country's health and security.
In a major push to revitalize the nation's vital fisheries sector, the government and SME Digital unveils two targeted financing schemes tailor-made for mariculture and fish processing.
The Mariculture Scheme and the Mahamanfa Scheme, both opening for applications on the 13th of December, aim to stimulate growth, create opportunities, and enhance value addition across the fisheries industry. The newly launched Mariculture Scheme provides crucial financial support for individuals and businesses seeking to enter or expand within the mariculture sector. Specifically, the scheme offers loans for acquiring sea cages, essential infrastructure for fish and marine farming. Administered by SME Digital under concessional Islamic finance principles, the scheme finances up to 200 sea cages. Financial assistance ranges from $5,188 to $41,504, featuring a borrower-friendly 6-year maximum repayment period, including an initial 6-month grace period. Simultaneously, the Mahamanfa Scheme, jointly introduced by the Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources and SME Digital, targets small and medium enterprises or SMEs involved in fish processing and marketing. This Islamic Sharia-compliant scheme aims to incentivize increased production and market reach, particularly for value-added products like pre-cooked and dried fish. Special priority will be given to businesses involved in fish cooking, drying, packaging, storage, and establishing value addition facilities across the country. Mahamanfa offers unsecured loans requiring no collateral, ranging from $3,242 to $25,940. Funds can be used for purchasing equipment, facilities, and goods essential for fish processing. Beneficiaries benefit from an attractive 6% annum interest rate and a generous maximum repayment term of 7 years, including a 6-month grace period. SME Digital positions both schemes as key components of broader national efforts to establish and develop the mariculture industry and enhance the overall fisheries sector in the Maldives. The initiatives build upon existing support provided over the past 2 years by the Ministry and SME Digital, including loans for general fisheries operations and the installation of refrigerated seawater or RSW systems on fishing vessels.
China extends $2.8 million in financial assistance to the Maldives to aid recovery efforts after a fire on 12 December 2024 destroyed the offices of 3 ministries in the capital.
The blaze engulfed the building opposite the Divehi Rajage Adu in Male, leaving the Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure in ruins. The adjacent green building, which housed the former Ministry of Climate Change and Environment and the former Environmental Protection Agency, was also rendered unusable. In the aftermath, the displaced agencies have been forced to conduct their operations temporarily from the Darubaruge Convention Center. At a formal handover ceremony, Chinese Ambassador Kong Xianhua presented the funds to Musa Zamir, the Minister of Finance and Planning. The aid has been designated for the procurement of office furniture and essential equipment, enabling the ministries to resume critical functions. Minister Zamir, in remarks at the ceremony, highlighted that the assistance would play a vital role in restoring government operations and stands as a symbol of enduring strength of bilateral relations. He noted that recent diplomatic engagements, particularly President Dr. Mohammad Moizu's meetings with President Xi Jinping, have deepened trust between Beijing and Male and expanded avenues of cooperation.
In a strategic move to reverse the declining proficiency of the Divehi language among young children, The Minister of Education, Dr. Ismail Shafiu, officially launches the National Early Learning Programme, emphasizing the urgent need for quality linguistic resources tailored for infants and early learners.
Speaking at the program's official launch, Minister Shafiu highlighted a growing societal concern over the erosion of children's speaking and reading abilities in Divehi. He stressed that early childhood, particularly primary school age, is a critical window for language development, yet the market remains severely understocked with suitable materials. He called on Maldivian writers, artists, and local businesses to collaborate with the Ministry of Education to produce high-quality Divehi content, noting that such efforts are vital not only for education but also for cultural preservation. As part of this national initiative, the Ministry's Corporate Social Responsibility (CSR) program, developed in partnership with the National Institute of Education (NIE), has already produced, digitized, and distributed 15 new Divehi language children's books to all primary schools across the country, marking a significant step towards strengthening foundational literacy in the mother tongue.
The Maldives reinforces its position as a premier global destination, earning the title of World's Leading Destination for the 6th consecutive year and World's Leading Green Destination for the 2nd time at the World Travel Awards in Bahrain.
Established in 1993, the awards are considered the industry's highest honors, underscoring the island nation's enduring brand strength and its growing commitment to environmental stewardship. The recognition coincides with a landmark year for the country's tourism sector, with the arrivals surpassed 2 million earlier than ever before, keeping the Maldives firmly on track to meet its target of 2.3 million arrivals in 2025. Authorities attribute this growth to carefully coordinate global campaigns and strategic partners that have amplified the nation's visibility across key international markets. The Maldives has also broadened its appeal beyond leisure travel. Regional distinctions, acknowledged meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibitions, MICE capabilities, incentive travel in Mali, and digital engagement. The Visit Maldives Corporation noted that these achievements reflect the collective efforts of industry stakeholders and local communities, reinforcing the nation's position as a leading premium destination through sustained year-round promotion.
That's all for this evening. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.